Hello children, today's topic is ionic equilibria. We completed chemical equilibria as well as physical. Now next is ionic equilibria. So first, meaning of ionic equilibria. Ionic equilibria means the equilibria which involve ions. That is termed as ionic equilibria. Like if you remember few examples we discussed in case of chemical equilibria, like one is ferric ions reaction with thiocyanate ion. Even we discussed this in detail when we were discussing the effect of concentration on equilibrium. Ferric ions on reaction with thiocyanate ion give ferric thiocyanate. Right? So this is one example of ionic equilibrium. Means the equilibrium which involve ions. Or we can say second definition that if there is an equilibrium between ions and unionized molecule, that is also considered as ionic equilibrium. For example, if we take aqueous solution of acetic acid, aqueous solution of acetic acid. In its aqueous solution, it partially dissociates into acetate ions and hydrogen ion. So again a case of ionic equilibria. So these are the two ways to define ionic equilibria. I am repeating both the definitions. First, equilibrium which involve ions. Right? Or the second way to define, if equilibria is established between ions and their unionized form, that is termed as ionic equilibria. So before doing this equilibrium in detail, first we discuss few terms like electrolytes, non-electrolytes. Michael Faraday classified the substances in two categories, electrolytes and non-electrolytes, depending on the conduction of electric current. So now first we talk about these two categories. So definition of electrolyte: substances which conduct electricity in their aqueous solution or molten state. Substances which conduct electricity in molten state or in their aqueous solution. They are termed as electrolytes. For example, we know aqueous solution of sodium chloride, common salt, conducts electricity. So it comes under the category of electrolyte. Aqueous solution of sulfuric acid conducts electricity. So again, electrolyte. Non-electrolyte are the substances which do not conduct electricity in their aqueous state or in their molten state. Like we know sugar solution, it doesn't conduct electricity. Urea solution doesn't conduct electricity. So these comes under the category of non-electrolyte. So children, clear difference between these two? Show conduction in aqueous solution. They do not show conduction in their aqueous solution. Why? Reason for this that we will be discussing later. But first only the definition of these two. Then further, electrolytes are classified into two categories. Further, two types: strong and weak electrolyte. Strong electrolyte and weak electrolyte. Strong electrolytes are those substances which almost completely ionized in their aqueous solution. Electrolytes which almost completely ionized or dissociated into their aqueous solution. Like if we take aqueous solution of sodium chloride. Aqueous solution of sodium chloride almost completely ionized into its ions. So comes under the category of strong electrolyte. Weak electrolytes partially dissociated into their aqueous solution. Like we discussed the reaction of acetic acid. Weak electrolyte, that's why shows partial dissociation. Hardly 5% dissociation takes place. Even less than 5% dissociation. But almost 100% dissociation in case of sodium chloride. So this is the difference between strong and a weak electrolyte. I am repeating for you. Strong, almost completely dissociated into aqueous solution. Weak, they show partial dissociation into their aqueous solution. And this is the reason of conduction, that why electrolytes they conduct electricity. Because in aqueous solution they dissociate into their ions, and due to this free movement of ions we get the electric current. More is the free movement of ion, or we can say more is the concentration of ion. If we increase the concentration of electrolyte, the conduction increases because we will get more ions in aqueous solution. More are the ions, more will be the conduction. Clear, children? Now, one thing comes into mind, that why sodium chloride doesn't show conduction in solid state. Solid sodium chloride is a bad conductor. But in aqueous form, it becomes a good conductor. Why it is so? Because in solid state, its ions, they are tightly held together due to electrostatic forces of attraction. We know sodium chloride is an ionic compound. So in solid state, strong electrostatic force of attraction present between sodium ions and chloride ions. As these ions are not free, so no chance of conduction. But when we dissolve into water, one very important principle here I am telling you, dear children, that the water is termed as universal solvent, and dielectric constant of water is very high. Dielectric constant of water, it's very high, it is 80, and the electrostatic forces of attraction, they are inversely proportional to dielectric constant. More is the dielectric constant of solvent, lesser are the electrostatic forces of attraction. So this is the reason of free movement of ions in case of sodium chloride when we dissolve into water. Because when we dissolve sodium chloride into water, due to very high dielectric constant of water, on dissolving, the strength of electrostatic forces of attraction, it decreased by the factor of 80, because dielectric constant of water is 80. So when you dissolve it into water, the strength of electrostatic forces of attraction decreased by a factor of 80. That's why they becomes free now, and due to that free movement of ions, we get electric conduction. Children, if you paid attention, sometimes I use the term dissociation and sometimes I use the term ionization. Now the question is there any difference between these two terms, or can we use these two terms invariably, means we can use dissociation or we can use ionization? Ideally speaking, there is a difference between these two terms, but in this unit you can use either dissociation or ionization term, because now we can use these terms, but earlierly in chemistry these two terms were used in separate aspects. Now, what's the basic difference between these two terms? At least we should know, but although we can use these two terms invariably. Dissociation, the simple meaning is breaking into ions, means breaking of ions which are already existing in ionic state in solid form. Means when the substance is present in solid state, ions were there, but they were not free. So when you dissolved into aqueous medium, dissociated, and now they becomes free. Like example, I think you know well now, that is sodium chloride. We know it's an ionic compound. Sodium chloride is an ionic compound made up by cations and anions. So already these ions were there, but they were in combined state due to electrostatic force of attraction. But as soon as we dissolve into water, due to breaking of these forces, now the reason you know, that of dielectric constant we discussed, these ions, they becomes free. Means sodium chloride dissociated into its ion. Ideally, we cannot say it is ionized because ions, they were already there. Only now dissociation of ions takes place. So this is the exact meaning of dissociation. Now coming to ionization. Ionization means already the substance was not ionic compound, means no ions were present in solid state. But when you dissolved into water, then the substance separated into its ions. This is the meaning of ionization. Clear that already ions are not there in the structure of that molecule, but on dissolving into water, it gets ionized. For example, I can take aqueous solution of ammonia. So if I write the chemical reaction, ammonia plus water, reaction for its ionization, it will be ionized into NH4 positive ammonium ion and hydroxyl ion. Children, you all know that ammonia is a covalent molecule. No ions are present initially in case of ammonia. But when you dissolve into water, it gets ionized. So ideally speaking, for sodium chloride, the better term is dissociation, and for ammonia kind molecules, the better term is ionization. But again, I am telling you, we can use any term here, no problem at all. You can use dissociation or you can use ionization, wherever you find comfortable, that term you can use. But yes, this is the basic difference between these two terms that you should know. Acid, base and salt. First we talk about those characteristics of acid, base and salt which you people already know, studied in lower classes. And acid, base and salt, these are not only important for laboratory purpose, even in nature there is a great importance of all these components. Children, can you give me few examples of acid, base, salt which exist in nature? Very important part of daily life. Remember few of them, like hydrochloric acid. If I give you a hint, I think you can easily tell about their importance. Hydrochloric acid, important part of gastric juice, secreted by stomach lining, and very important for digestion process. So in nature even they present. Then we can talk about citric acid and ascorbic acid. Citric acid and ascorbic acid. Got it? Present in citrus fruits like lemon, oranges. Citric acid and ascorbic acid is present. Then we can talk about tartaric acid. Tartaric acid, present in tamarind paste. Similarly, if we talk about base, any example of base which you can give, very important, that is washing soda. Washing soda, right? In salt, common salt, very important constituent of our diet. So in this way we can say they are also present in nature even. So now what are acids, base and salts? Quickly discuss those parameters which you know well. Acids, sour in taste. Why this? Even that name acid is based on this. This acid word is from Latin word acidus. The meaning of this acidus word in Latin language is sour in taste. That's why this name of acid is, because most of the acids, they are sour in taste. They give hydrogen on reaction with metals like sodium plus HCl, NaCl plus hydrogen. So on reaction with metals, they liberate hydrogen gas. These are acids. Then base, soapy in touch. bitter in taste, salts formed by reaction of acid and base. So it is a cluster of cations and anions formed by reaction with acid and base, like HCl plus NaOH gives NaCl and water. These are some characteristics of acid and base which you already know. Now we will discuss acid and base in detail. So first concept which explains about acid and base is Arrhenius concept of acid and base. So according to this concept, what is the definition of acid? According to this concept, acids are the substances which releases hydrogen ion in aqueous medium. Substances which releases hydrogen ion in aqueous solution. They are termed as acid. Similarly, base are the substances which give hydroxyl ion in aqueous solution. Clear definitions? We can discuss even with the help of few examples. For acid, the general formula for acid I may write HA, and for base I may write BOH. These are the general formulas for acid and base we will be using. Then we can even take some examples. First I am explaining with the help of these general formulas of acid and base. Acid, as it is written as HA, in aqueous medium, if it is a strong acid, complete dissociation, weak acid, partial dissociation. Only this is the difference. So HA will dissociate into H positive and A negative in aqueous medium. But there is another way to represent this reaction, like we may represent in this way with water. Hydronium ion. Now let me tell you first what is the difference between these two. Then we talk about base. H positive ion, or we may call it proton, hydrogen ion is highly reactive, very reactive. So in aqueous medium, it never exists in isolated form or in the form of H positive. What happens? It combines with water molecule, H positive plus water, forming hydronium ion. Because it takes this lone pair, we know oxygen has 2 lone pair. So it takes this one lone pair because it is highly reactive. So immediately by using this lone pair, it will make a bond with water molecule and form hydronium ion in this way, carrying a lone pair. This is. So in this way, H positive can never exist in the form of H positive due to high reactivity. Immediately combines with water, forming hydronium ion, or we can call it hydrated proton. We can call it hydrated proton, but as we talked about ionization dissociation, we may use any term, but yes, ideally there is a difference between those two terms. Same is here. Actually, it always exists in the form of hydronium ion, but still we may write the chemical equation in this form even. Both ways of representation are correct, but actual way of representation you should know. So this is the basic difference between these two. Now if we can take any example like HCl, strong acid, dissociated in aqueous medium, H positive and Cl negative, or we may write in this way. Acetic acid, I am writing in second way, in aqueous medium, as it's a weak acid, dissociate into acetate ion and hydrated proton or hydronium ion. So these are the ways how to represent the acid in aqueous medium on the basis of Arrhenius concept. Then representation of a base. First I am taking the general way to represent. Then we take few examples. If it's a weak base, partial dissociation, and if it's a strong base, full dissociation. Dissociated into B positive and OH negative. So this is the reason the substance is a base, because if we apply Arrhenius concept, base are the substances which releases hydroxyl ion in their aqueous medium. So as this is providing us hydroxyl ion, so we can say this is a base. We can take the example of ammonium hydroxide, a weak base. So partial dissociation into ammonium ions and hydroxyl ion. NaOH, a strong base, so complete dissociation into sodium ion and hydroxyl ion. So these are some examples of acid and base which we express in terms of Arrhenius concept. This is the most easy and most widely used concept to explain the behavior of acid and base. But yes, this concept also has some limitations, because we can apply this concept only for those substances which already contain hydrogen ion or hydroxyl ion in their structure. But there are many substances which either behave like acid or base, but they doesn't contain hydrogen ion or hydroxyl ion. Can you give me a few examples, or I should give? CO2, is it acidic or basic in nature? Acidic in nature. CO2 is acidic in nature, but by using Arrhenius concept, we cannot explain its acidic nature because no hydrogen ion in the structure of CO2. Yes? SO2, acidic or basic? Children, please give quick answer. Remember, it is responsible for acid rain. It means, of course, this is acidic in nature. But again, no hydrogen ion in its structure. So we cannot explain its acidic nature by using Arrhenius concept. There are many. Try to find some more. This is your homework. Then same for base. Ammonia. I told you in this lecture only, basic in nature. But again, no hydroxyl ion in its structure. So we cannot explain the basic nature of ammonia as it doesn't contain any hydroxyl ion. So this is the biggest limitation of Arrhenius concept, that there are many substances where hydrogen ion or hydroxyl ion is not present in the structure of compound. So how do we explain their acidic or basic behavior? So to explain these parameters, we will be taking another concept of acid and base, that is Bronsted-Lowry concept of acid and base. Acidic and basic behavior. The next is Bronsted-Lowry, acid and base. Now according to Bronsted and Lowry, acids are substances which donate a proton. So we can say proton donors are acid. And Bronsted-Lowry base, opposite to this, proton acceptors. Proton means H positive, hydrogen ion, nucleus of hydrogen. So a very simple concept. Proton donor, they are termed as acids, or simply we can say acids are the substances which releases a proton or hydrogen ion. Base are the substances which receives a proton which accepts a hydrogen ion. So the basic difference between Arrhenius and Bronsted-Lowry concept is this only. In both cases, the definition of acid is same. In that case also, acid proton donor. Here also acids are proton donor. So we can say the Arrhenius acid and Bronsted-Lowry acids are same, but their base are quite different. Because for Arrhenius base, presence of hydroxyl ion is must. But for Bronsted-Lowry base, hydroxyl ion is not necessary. Only it says very simple concept that the substances which accepts a proton are termed as base. Like if we take the reaction between ammonia and water, here you can easily apply this concept, Bronsted-Lowry concept, dissociates into ammonium ion and hydroxyl ion. Right. Now, the question is, how do we apply this concept to explain acidic and basic behavior? Children, just check what changes are taking place here. Ammonia in forward reaction is converted into NH4 positive. So what is the change in its structure? Received one extra proton. Ammonia, by taking H positive, converted into NH4 positive. So as it is receiving a proton, so proton acceptor, base. It means it behaves like Bronsted base. It behaves like Bronsted base. Just check for water. H2O in forward reaction is converted into OH negative. So what is the change? Releases a proton. By losing a proton, it is converted into hydroxyl ion. So the species which loses proton? Acids. Proton donor are termed as acids. So we can say here, water behaves like Bronsted acid. Now check the backward reaction. That what are the changes in backward reaction. In backward reaction, if we see, ammonium ion is converted into ammonia. So the change is NH4 positive by losing a proton in backward reaction converted into ammonia. So as it is losing proton, means it behaves like an acid. So this is Bronsted acid. Check the change for hydroxyl ion. Hydroxyl ion is converted into water. Means received a proton, and the species which accepts proton behaves like Bronsted base. So we can say here hydroxyl ion is behaving like Bronsted base. So is it to apply this concept now? Now if you check carefully, in this reaction we are getting two acid-base pair. Ammonia is a base. Its acid is ammonium ion. So this is one pair of acid and base. This is one acid-base pair. We call it conjugate acid-base pair. I will tell you the definition. Conjugate acid-base pair. Now check the second pair. H2 is acid. Its base is hydroxyl ion. So this is second acid-base pair in this reaction. Conjugate acid-base pair. Acid-base pair. Second. This is first pair and this is second pair. So in this way we can say two acid-base pair are present in this reaction. This is first ammonia and ammonium ion. Second pair water and hydroxyl ion. Clear how to identify conjugate acid-base pair? And one important characteristics of these conjugate pairs in a acid-base pair. If the acid is strong, then its base would be weak, or vice versa. If in pair base is strong, then the acid is a weak acid. So in pair one is strong and the other is weak. Now if some example is given and we have to identify that which species is behaving like conjugate acid and which is behaving like conjugate base. From here only children you can give answer if you analyze it minutely, that if I take this first conjugate acid base pair, this is ammonia is base, NH4 positive is an acid. So what is the basic difference? It has one proton extra and it has one proton less. So very easy to decide which is acid and which is base. A conjugate acid has one extra proton and base has one less proton. Similarly, if we check the second acid-base pair, H2 is acid and hydroxyl is its base. So H2 has one extra proton and it has one less proton. So very easy, remember acids one extra proton, base one proton less. So in this way easily we can identify which species is behaving like acid and which one is behaving like a base. Now the question comes, how do we define conjugate acid base? Again in terms of proton we can define only conjugate acid-base pair is a pair which is formed due to mutual transference of proton. Which is formed due to mutual transference of proton. Right now, because ammonia has received one proton which is released by ammonium ion. Same here, H2O has released one proton converted into hydroxyl ion. So they are formed by mutual transference of protons. Take one more example to discuss this concept. Hydrochloric acid with water. How it ionizes into aqueous medium? H3O positive and Cl negative. Now here just also apply that concept. In forward reaction, HCl is converted into hydronium ion. Means taken one proton, and the species which accepts proton are termed as HCl is converted into chloride ion. Released a proton. HCl is converted into chloride, released a proton, and proton donor are Bronsted acid. Similarly, H2O by receiving one proton converted into hydronium ion. So, proton acceptor behaves like Bronsted base. Check the backward reaction. In backward, hydronium is converted into water. Means it has released one proton. And proton donor acid. So, hydronium Bronsted acid. Chloride is converted into HCl. Means it has received a proton. And proton acceptor base. So, it is Bronsted base. Now, easily we can find the conjugate acid-base pair. HCl is an acid. Its base is chloride ion. So, this is one conjugate acid-base pair. And the second pair, water is a base, its acid is hydronium. This is second conjugate acid-base pair. Clear, children? Conjugate pair of acid and base, and this is second conjugate pair of acid and base. But there is a one very important factor here. If you analyze both these examples carefully, in this reaction, in presence of HCl, water is behaving like a base. And just check the previous case. In presence of ammonia, water behaved like acid. True, children? In presence of ammonia, it behaved like acid. But in presence of HCl, it is behaving like base. So we can say it shows this dual behavior. So now I think this concept of Bronsted-Lowry acid and base is also clear to you. But yes, this concept also has some limitations. What is the most important limitation of this concept? If you check, this is only and only based on transference of proton. One is losing the proton, second is accepting the proton. Means for a acid, it's very important presence of proton. If proton is not there, we cannot accept the acidic behavior of that substance by using Bronsted-Lowry concept even. Like in previous case, we discussed CO2, SO2, acidic in nature. But we cannot explain their acidic behavior because not having proton in their structure. CO2, SO2, they don't have proton. So we cannot explain their acidic behavior even by using this Bronsted-Lowry concept. So in this way, we discuss these concepts and we find that the limitations are there in both the concepts. Now, how do we explain the behavior of those components which are neither explained by Arrhenius concept nor by Bronsted-Lowry concept? So there is a third concept to explain acidic and basic behavior, that is the Lewis concept of acids and bases. Now let us discuss Lewis acid and base. How do we define them? Lewis acid, substances which accept electron pair. So The definition is electron pair acceptor are Lewis acids. Lewis base, electron pair donor. Again, definition is very simple. The substances which accepts electron pair are termed as Lewis acid, and the substances which donate electron pair are termed as Lewis base. For example, if we react boron trifluoride with ammonia, now there BF3 asks, just check its octet whether it is completed or not. Boron has 3 valence electrons. After sharing 3 with fluorine, total electrons becomes 6. Means still it needs 2 more electrons. Its octet is not satisfied. So it is willing to accept electron pair. It means it behaves like Lewis acid. But this acidic behavior we cannot explain by using Arrhenius concept or by using Bronsted-Lowry concept, because the requirement of proton is not here. So that's why here we can explain its acidic behavior, because it is electron deficient. So it will accept electron pair. That's why it behaves like Lewis acid. And ammonia, as it has 1 lone pair of electron, so it can donate its lone pair, and electron pair donor are termed as Lewis base. So in this way, BF3 and ammonia, they react, forming it will donate its lone pair to boron. So this is the third concept to explain acid and base. So like BF3, then you can take BCl3, AlCl3, Mg2 positive. All these species, they behave like Lewis acid, although no proton is there. Why? Because they have tendency to receive electron pairs. Similarly, we can say fluoride, hydroxyl, ammonia, as they all can donate electron pair, so behave like Lewis base. So children, now I think one thing is clear to you, that the acidic and basic behavior of different substances, there is no universal concept to explain acidic and basic behavior. There are some cases where we apply Arrhenius concept, some cases we apply Bronsted-Lowry concept, or some cases where we apply Lewis concept. So in this way, by using these 3 concepts, we can easily explain the acidic and basic behavior of different species. So now I think this concept of acid and base is completely clear to you all. That's it.